Hey there, it's Ree. Welcome back to the channel. It is Friday the 13th, the day before a huge astrological moment, the solar eclipse in Libra. I'm sure you've seen it all over YouTube. Although I'm going to put this up in the playlist as a timeless reading, I just wanted to point out the date as a breadcrumb to whatever path you're on and whatever answer you're searching for. I do believe the synchronous details matter here. So, first card out. Friday the 13th, we got the number 13th, the Sybil. Let me go ahead and show it to you. All right, I just love it when Spirit puts synchronicity right in our face. So, I do short pick-a-card readings for my Instagram account, and that's what I was doing just now with this spread here. But since I didn't do a video here yesterday on YouTube, I thought I'd just film a bit and provide a glimpse into the spread because it just seems so interesting to me. And of course, number 13 on the card on Friday the 13th. Boom, right there, right there. 13. So, what's this all about? The question I posed Spirit at the start was, what do they need to shed at this eclipse? And yes, the general readings, the collective readings, they can be a bit tumultuous because of the numerous message coming through. But this one here is something I think that we can all learn from. So, I started the spread from the center and then I moved outward. I kind of intuitively went with the layout as the cards came out, and this was the result. I see this as dealing with the conundrum of foresight and how we use foresight in making decisions in life. And in the case of this spread, I'm seeing it as how we use foresight based on past experience, or even what others, and this includes the media, how others influence our expectations. The overall thing here, the overall message, does have this tinge of burden and regret in our dealings with love, with our romantic relationships, with others, with ourselves. How we're burdened. So, let's see. Back to foresight. If you take a look at the Sybil's hands, she's not really bound here. She's not really bound here. But the image gives off this feeling of her hands being tied, her eyes being closed. It's a bit reminiscent of the Eight of Swords in the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith deck. And the bleeding tooth fungus here is the Two of Wands. It speaks to me of how the wisdom of past experience is distilled and then extracted over time. So, what does this mean? I call it trial and learning, because any experience, once we've sat with it and through it, has a message for us. It has some learning for us. So I don't really see it as an error per se, because once you're able to take a step back out of the emotional response to the failed relationship or the failed dream, you know, that tower moment, that tower moment. Yeah, we're finally I think we're finally afforded the opportunity to view it as the observer, right? When you take yourself out of the pain, out of the suffering, the anger, the grief, and you're able to revisit the waypoints. So what are the waypoints? The waypoints are kind of like the timestamps of your relationship, the starts of each new chapter in the book of that particular situation or relationship. This is a very important part of the tower moment, right? As it affords us the chance to start the transformation that's required of us to actually learn the lessons of that particular experience. But what's difficult about that? What's difficult about that is that it takes time, right? It takes time. Moving slowly. I think there are a few Pentacle cards here. Let's see, where was I? It takes time, right? It takes time. Our society, this instant gratification, right? Patience is a virtue that some of us have very little of. So the passage of time needed for healing can take what seems like ages. We can have great forward movement and flashes of insight, yet the real transformation takes time. So it's necessary for us to be in the observer role, to revisit as the observer when the energetic trauma shifts within the physical being and makes its way back up to the surface to be released. And even when we feel we've learned as much as we could out of that particular lesson, something always reflects differently. And I see, I just call it's reflecting, right? And then you get these little bits of insight, right? That always come up. But when things reflect differently, we gain that new insight. We get a deeper understanding of who we are and how we interact with those around us. So, what's super interesting about this spread, I know the whole spread is interesting, but what's super interesting about this spread for me is that the 10 of Cups came out reversed. Right? This is the dream, right? But it came out, even with all of this learning, all this past experience, all this learning, it came out reversed. So that brings me back to foresight, to Sybil, back to the center. And I think part of this message is our reliance on past experience in deciding how to move forward and what changes to enact in our dealings with others. Spirit is wanting me to talk about how we can co-create with the universe. And the best way to do that is by allowing unknowns into the equation. So in revisiting the waypoints of those relationships of trial and learning, where did you cut out different pathways? Where did you cut out different potential outcomes along the way? Where did expectations color your story or take over your vision board? So the crystals that chose to be a part of the reading today, they're a good representation of the many paths which branch out at each waypoint. These paths can go any which way, right? Here, let me show you some of the crystals. This is a good one. This was the one that came out first that drew me to this reading. But the paths, they can go any which way. And due to limited foresight, we won't know the outcome of all of them. Some are more visible than others, more prominent. But honestly, we can't really know how each path or how each decision is going to play out. Because when we go into relationships or situations with expectations, we limit the potential of the universe to really co-create with us. Our expectations bind us to those limited and sometimes superficial ideas of what we think we want. And if through those expectations we continue to attract the same things in the hope it will somehow be different this time around or next time around, we'll always end up with the 10 of Cups reversed. Have you ever stopped to think that perhaps in holding tight to a particular dream and how it will play out, we might be tying the hands of the universe to provide you what you, in your heart of hearts, would provide you everything you need and more so you can experience this type of joy and love when it's not reversed, right? The dream. So Spirit is bringing this to our attention today because the energy of this moment in time is exceptionally potent for recognizing the sometimes subtle delineations between our conscious expectations and our subconscious habits. So now is your chance to really shed some light on these limiting expectations, to shed these limiting expectations, these limiting habits, which you really don't need anymore, right? It's a chance to go really deep and recognize the subterranean aspects of yourself and your thinking, which is limiting the universe. It's limiting Spirit's ability to support you in your most authentic dreams and desires. So I'm thinking here, make it a point to let the unknowns into your life. Let the universe make the decision every once in a while. Don't micromanage the universe all the time. When you step back, you let go of the reins, some of the best surprises are going to come to light. So the next time you find yourself at a waypoint, at a crossroads, let Spirit illuminate the next step. Let Spirit decide. Let Spirit light the way. Don't micromanage. Let Spirit come in and be like, hey, try this one, right? That opens more pathways, more potential for you. And so, that's all I have for you today. This went on a little bit longer than I planned, but hey, that's the message for today. So thank you so much for sharing in a little magic with me. I really appreciate you joining me today. Sending much love to you. See you next time. Bye.